Hey guys, I'm filming my wrap up right now for the month of November. I read a total of 10 books this month, and I enjoyed almost all of them. There was one that's a bit of a dud, you'll hear about that soon. This is also going to be my November book haul because all three books that I bought this month are all in this wrap up, so there's no real point in filming a separate video for that. So, first book I finished this month was The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. I really enjoyed this. I can totally see why people enjoy this. It's great. A lot of things happen in such a short amount of time, and the characters are all very, very interesting, and ooh, there's a lot of scandal, and I like scandal. The ending did get me though. I don't know. It might have been because of the song I was listening to music at the time, and the song that I was listening to. Yeah, it kind of amplifies everything and makes it 10 times sadder. So I got a little misty-eyed at the end. Won't deny that. Won't deny that. Not gonna tell you why though, because spoilers. But yeah, I enjoyed this, and I gave it 4 stars. Next book I read this month was The Pirate's Wish by Cassandra Rose Clarke. I read The Assassin's Curse last month, and I really did not like it all that much. And, this really wasn't any better. Naji's still a shed, Anana is still as dull as a piece of drywall, and the only saving grace in this book was Marjani and her relationship with, God, I've forgotten who it was, shit, Marjani, fuck, the queen, fuck it, I can't be bothered, but, yep, that was great. Marjani is a badass, and, but unfortunately, it wasn't enough to save the book for me liking it and being able to keep it on my shelf, so I am getting rid of this duology. And so, you have to keep walking by Ferret Books and Cuba Street any time. Keep an eye out because you might be lucky. You might get lucky and get this duology. Next book I read was Peter Pan by J.M. Barrie, introduced by Tony DiTerlizzi, and illustrated, and cover illustrations, by Chris Riddell. That's why I picked up this edition, because, just look at that cover, it's so nice, and, yeah. I loved this book. It was, like, okay, so, I was reading this book, and I was just thinking the whole time, wow, I really, really want to rewatch the 2003 live-action version of the live-action movie version. And then the Saturday I finished it, and it was on that night, and I'm just like, yes, so I could do a comparison, and yeah, it definitely follows the book quite well as well. And but the thing about this book is, the Peter in this book, it is very dark and a lot more sinister. It is very sinister. And, oh, and I can see where the whole, everyone brought about the whole, he kills off all lost boys when they get too old. I can totally see where that comes from. Yeah. And that's why I loved it so much. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm into the sinister things, more sinister and darker things in life. So, yeah, loved it, and yeah. Next book I read was The Boy in the Striped Pajamas by John Boyne. This was a reread for me. The last time I read it was 2008 or 9 for English, and I enjoyed it then, but I didn't understand some of the things in it and didn't quite get what was happening in the end. But now rereading it, oh, I see what's going on. I see what's going down. Oh, shiz. and I still enjoyed it almost as much. There were several things that I forgot, but several things that I remembered but forgot their placement in the book, and it was just enjoyable and a highly depressing read if you're into that, and yeah. And also, if you like historical fiction and anything involving World War II and Nazis and things like that, very good. Next book I read, as I needed something to lighten the mood after reading that, so I picked up Leviathan by Scott Westerfeld, which is another reread. Second time reading this, and it's still so good. And it was the characters are interesting, the setting is amazing. There are pictures. Yeah, that's always a bonus. Always a bonus. And if you read my A to Z Bookish survey, you'll know that Darren is my fucking bae. She is my bae, and why can't she be a real person? But yes, I again thoroughly enjoyed this series, this book, and just this series in general. It's so good. Next book I read, and also the first book I bought this month, Goth Girl and A Fate Worse Than Death. It is the sequel to Goth Girl and the Ghost of a Mouse, and it was just as good. It was just as good. Still packed full of puns and all sorts of things happening, and get to find out more about the closet maid that puts out Ada's outfits, and we get to see more of and where am I going with this? Oh yeah, and there are more plays on famous people and stuff, this time involving chefs, musicians, and the whole James Bond thing. And also this time the deckling is red, and it comes with a bookmark. I love it when books come with bookmarks. It's great, and highly enjoyed, and I highly recommend this series. I can't wait for the next one. Then the next book I read was The Coldest Girl in Cold Town by Holly Black, and this is also another book that I got this month, which I actually technically got for free because when I bought Goth Girl and another book that I'm about to show you, I had filled out my 10 slots on my loyalty card to Unity Books, and so I got the average back, which was $23, and this happened to be $23, so I got it. And I had a couple of problems with this book, and one of them was very major. Like, if I had known about this, I would not have picked it up. Okay, so the first problem that I had was with Valentina. Now, I was intrigued by the premise before, but then I found it on the book list for trans youth, and being trans, I decided to pick it up because I love it when mainstream books have trans characters. However, she is so dull. Like, yeah, it's great. You're trans. You exist. But oh my God, do something! She's just there. She does nothing. She is so boring and dull, and it's just such a letdown. Yep, and the other problem, and this was the major problem. Nobody told me in advance about the heavy use of needles, IVs, and tubes sticking into other people's arms. If I had known about that, I wouldn't have picked this up. Thing is, I have major problems with those things. They trigger me so badly. Like, I struggled so much to get through this book. I managed to finish it. But fuck, I am not going back to this. I am not. No, no, no. But other than that, the premise was great. Like, the actual premise and the execution of the premise was great, but just... no. Next book I read was Nightmares by Jason Segel and Kristen Miller. Jason Segel will probably sound pretty familiar because this is written by the guy he's the actor, one of the guys from How I Met Your Mother. So, yes, he's joined the legion of actors turned children's authors, along with Chris Colfer and Emma Thompson. So, this was his first effort, and I really enjoyed it. It was great. It was really interesting. It was pretty original as well. And it has pictures, because pictures are always a bonus. And picture, and I loved it. Took me a while to get through though. I will give it that. It did take a while, but other than that, it was great. Great first effort, and I can't wait to continue on with the series. Next book I read was A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness, and this is the other book that I got. This is the other book that I got, and the last book I got this month. So, this book, I totally see what everyone's talking about. It is amazing. So, I managed to get my hands on the illustrated version. So, it has great images like this in it. Great creepy kind of sketchy images, and great. The story is really sad, but really amazing and beautiful, and just and at the ending, the ending did make me cry, and that is an understatement. I grossly sobbed for several minutes. I'm not someone that can carry on the crying jag for like hours and hours and hours. So, oh my god, I'm not a book crier. Especially not in very short standalones, so you go. You go, book. Being able to make me cry. And everyone needs to read this. And the last book I read this month was The Subtle Knife by Philip Pullman, the second book in the His Dark Materials trilogy, and despite being it's a really short book, but it took me ages to get through. But I still very much enjoyed it. We got a new character in this book, Will, who's from our world, like this world, but except in like the 90s, because this was written, at least I think it was the 90s, either 90s or early 2000s. Yeah, 90s, and so that was interesting. Lots of other world traveling. Interesting things happen, and you get to see the return of several characters, and also the death of a lot of my favorite characters. And it's just like, Doshte, why did you kill off so many of my favorite characters? But anyways, I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed this series. I'm currently halfway through The Amber Spyglass, which is the final book, and yeah, so that is my November wrap up and book haul. So I will see you in my next video.